3 terrifying true Reddit stories. Number 1. Hide and seek.
This is a story about my friend that happened to him when he was a child. He was playing hide and seek with another friend, Lenny, at his house. It was late, probably around 10ish. It's my friend's turn to find Lenny. He's looking everywhere around the house, but he can't seem to find him anywhere. He eventually decides he must be hiding outside, so he leaves the house to go outside and find him. He starts searching around some bushes when he hears Lenny's voice coming from a dark corner, maybe 20 feet away. The voice calls for him to come over. He didn't, because he was already spooked out enough being outside in the pitch black. My friend yelled back, "No, you come over here." That's when he said it really started to get spooky. He told me the voice that sounded just like his friend kept insisting that he come over to the dark corner. My friend kept saying no over and over again. At this point, he said the voice suddenly changed to a dark, horrible sounding voice demanding he come over.
"Come over here now."
At this point, terrified, he sprinted back inside, only to see his friend in the living room. When asked how he got inside so fast, Lenny said he never went outside. Now, I know both of these guys. None of them make up shit. And I doubt it's the case of an imagination gone wild. Whatever that voice was, it still spooks me just thinking about this story.
Number 2. Toby.
This is a true story of an experience that happened to my family almost 30 years ago. Back then, when she was 3 years old, my cousin had an imaginary friend called Toby. My cousin would play and talk with Toby for ages at a time. She also did other strange stuff, like insisting that Toby had a playset at the dinner table at mealtime and having a cushion on the floor next to her own so that Toby could sit and watch TV with her. My aunt, although getting increasingly uneasy, just went along with it for a month or so. However, she put her mind at rest after consulting some child-rearing books from the local library, which told her it was just a normal childhood phase that her daughter was going through, and so she stopped worrying about Toby. A few months later during the winter, my uncle had just started a new job that involved night shift work. So he was working a night shift, and this left my aunt and my cousin alone in the house by themselves. It got to be my cousin's bedtime, so my aunt took my cousin upstairs and got her ready for bed. As was now the usual, my cousin asked my aunt if Toby should also go to bed, which my aunt just went along with and replied that yes, Toby was to go to his bed as well. After getting my cousin changed, they went to her bedroom, read my cousin and Toby, of course, a bedtime story, tucked her and Toby into bed, kissed her goodnight, and finally my aunt was finished with her motherly duties for the evening, and it was time to relax and wind down. My aunt left the bedroom and started to go back downstairs to have a cup of tea and watch some TV. My aunt had just reached the bottom of the stairs when my cousin shouted from her bedroom that my aunt had forgot to turn the bedlight room off. She would normally sleep with her bedroom door open and the hall light on. Sighing, my aunt turned around and started back up the stairs. Just as she got to the top stairs, she saw the light turn off in my cousin's bedroom. My cousin then shouted, "It's okay, Mommy, Toby turned it off." My aunt rushed into the bedroom a split second after my cousin shouted this, and my cousin was still tucked in her bed. As the light switch at the time was too high up on the wall for my then 3-year-old little cousin to reach and was on the opposite side of the room to the bed next to the door, my aunt just froze in the doorway for a few seconds, not knowing what had just happened or what she should do. My aunt, now freaking out inside her head but trying not to show it, decided just to act normally and said goodnight again to my cousin and then went very quickly back downstairs and immediately phoned my uncle at work. She sounded so terrified on the phone that my uncle asked his supervisor if he could leave work early due to an emergency at home. I remember when my aunt told me about this incident. She said that while she was waiting for my uncle to get home, she was so frightened that she didn't think she could have went back up to the room even if the house had been on fire. The next morning, my aunt sat down with my cousin and had a conversation that ended with her telling my cousin that she couldn't play with Toby again. My cousin said that Toby was upset about this and he wanted to stay. My aunt lost her temper and said Toby had to leave, and that was the end of it. A few days later, as my cousin had not spoken to or mentioned Toby since that conversation, my aunt casually asked my cousin over lunch what had happened to Toby. My cousin looked up at her mother and replied with a question that chilled my aunt. "What is a shrew, Mommy?" My aunt asked her where she had heard such a word, and she shouldn't say a word like that. My cousin replied, "That's what Toby said when he left, Mommy. He said he was leaving because of the old shrew."
Number 3. The bathroom.
When I was 8, my parents decided to build a big house outside of town, which I was cool with because it meant I could get my own room and not have to share one with my little brother. I can remember weird feelings in the house as a kid, but two stand out the most for me. My bedroom was across the hall from my brother's bedroom, and we shared a bathroom in between. You had to leave our bedrooms to get into the single door entrance to the bathroom. I would leave my dirty clothes piled against the wall next to the door to my room. One day I was bending over to grab my clothes to carry them to the laundry room, and out of my peripheral vision I saw what looked like an old woman wearing all white walk quickly into our bathroom, and the door slammed shut. When I finally worked up the courage to check, my bathroom was empty, and I was home alone. Years later, a friend of mine drove into town to hang out for a couple days while his parents were out of town. Around midnight, he paused whatever game we were playing to go to the bathroom. I'm sitting there waiting for him to get back, and I hear him scream, "Bloody murder." He bolts out of the bathroom and starts throwing his stuff in his bag. I kept asking him, "Dude, what happened?" He didn't say a word, just walked to his car and drove 3 hours home in the middle of the night. It wasn't until a week later that he told me that while he was washing his hands in the same bathroom I saw the figure disappear into, that he looked down to get some soap, and when he looked up, he saw another face in the mirror looking back at him. After that, I never used that bathroom again.